Taro said, but Zalam to Hinkagone, Timothy, not to say your Sajala, Karna, Quatella, and don't come out Tala Bundashi, Yatago Yabe Totola, Tata Matana, Aka says that the Jokagatala Bundashi, Tinika Latte, you could summon to some la. Ya, do you love the Nakote, Mammy Taber Tulapa, Laya love the Carbo, the Sankatella,
The epic King Gesar has a performance tradition of over 1,000 years. The epic was originally created by Tibetan nomads on the vast Qinghai Tibetan plateau. For centuries, the heroic song has been orally transmitted among many ethnic groups in China. The major themes of the epic tradition center on the life, deeds and merits of the divine hero Gesar, whose mission from heaven to this world was to unify disparate tribes, defeat ravaging monsters, while aiding the weak and rescuing his beloved ones from earthly calamities. As the creators, inheritors and transmitters of the longest heroic song in the world, over the generations, the Gesar epic singers and storytellers have developed a rich and fascinating oral tradition that still lives today. The Gesar epic tradition exemplifies the dynamic diversity and artistry of traditional oral poetry. In the Tibetan areas, performers are classified in several ways by how they learn and master the epic. Some singers learn via dreams and spirits, and others through inspired or enlightened hearing. There are also the methods of inspiration known as excavating hidden treasure and circular light in the mirror, and there is the basic method of repeatedly chanting the text. The epic singers may meld concisely worded prose with lyrical verse and over 80 melodies of music. Singers or storytellers often use a variety of performing skills that include gestures, facial expressions, postures and vocal sound effects to enhance the artistry of their performances. In Mongolian traditions of Gesar, the epic singing is handed down professionally from master to apprentice. Performances usually feature musical accompaniment by stringed instruments called the horse-head fiddle and the four-string spiked fiddle. Though the majority of epic singers and storytellers are illiterate, they possess a dynamic mix of keen memory and verbal creativity. In general, the repertoire of an epic singer consists of thousands upon thousands of lines, in some cases even hundreds of thousands of lines. Tibetan manuscripts of King Gesar can be traced back to the 14th century. As of today, there are over 120 different cantons. Not counting the texts in prose, the portions in verse alone total over 1 million poetic lines. Gesar epic singers and storytellers play important roles in festival ceremonies, rites of passage and religious rituals in communities throughout the highland pasture. Epic performances emerge as traditional folkways in local public events that include Tibetan New Year, horse racing fair, Shodan festival, and Mongolian traditional games called Nadam, as well as Alba Deher, a ceremony to worship gods and spirits. In terms of oral narrative, the Gesar epic is not only the dominant means for communicating with the gods, ancestors and members of society, but also the major entertainment in local rural communities. As the longest epic in the world, King Gesar is unique as a wellspring of indigenous cultural diversity and evidence of sustainable yet dynamic human creativity. The epic epitomizes the achievements of traditional Tibetan and Mongolian folklore and oral culture. As the Tibetan proverb goes, on everyone's lips there is a candle of King Gesar. The epic is a constant inspiration for thangka painting and Tibetan opera. Tibetans regard their real life as the continuity of the Gesar epic and the present world as the universe created by heroic ancestors. The native people of the region pride themselves on saying, "We are all descendants of King Gesar." On the snowy plateau, there are still numerous relics and sites that commemorate King Gesar, who lives in the collective memory and oral traditions of the people themselves. Since the epic circulates among several ethnic groups, its great influence and power lies at a crucial juncture between tradition and local solidarity, while boosting intercultural discourse and mutual understanding between different ethnic groups. Since the 1980s, China has taken measures to safeguard the Gesar epic by collecting, compiling, and publishing oral texts. These efforts also include the organization of leading groups, establishing a system in which outstanding epic singers are honored by nominations as folk art masters, establishing research institutions, sponsoring international conferences, and so on. In 2001, UNESCO designated 2002 to 2003 as the years to celebrate the 1000th anniversary of the creation of the epic King Gesar. In order to revitalize Gesar epic singers, storytellers, and their performance traditions, we have formulated a series of action plans.